Oh no, oh no, oh no. Hello, I am the Irish guy, and right. Today, I'm gonna grade every Premier League club's last trophy that they won. And before you all start spluttering coffee at your phone, I'm ranking these trophies based on how much they meant to that particular fan base, the manner in which it was won, the whole context surrounding these trophies, and so yeah, get ready for me to nitpick like some angry bitter mum. Yes, lads, trust me, today, I'm going to be a real Susan. Right, let's go. Arsenal Community Shield F. Lads, people say that you should cherish every piece of silverware, right? Well, if that's true, then excuse me whilst I go and sleep with this spoon. If that was actually accurate, then right now you'd be bragging on the gram about the new forks you've bought to eat sausages on the couch. No, and I'm sorry, but I don't think any Arsenal fan out there will take memories to their grave about that time they won the 2023 Community Shield. I mean, for this to be Mikel Arteta's only trophy inside the last 5 years, it's a bit like admitting that you're mid-30s and you're still searching for your second kiss to follow up the one you had when you were 13. The Community Shield might look like it's pretending to be the Bundesliga title. Seriously, it looks like a giant dinner plate you might find at True Geordie's house, but lads, it is a glorified friendly sponsored by McDonald's. Seriously, Arteta is lucky he wasn't handed it by someone dressed up as the Mackie D's clown. Arsenal should be out there winning massive trophies. But let's be real, this is a one-off match won on penalties against Man City, where yeah, Leandro Trossard scores a fun 101st minute equalizer. But the Gunners shouldn't even have been in this match, because most teams have to win a trophy to be rewarded with the Community Shield game, right? Oh no, the Gunners wound up in that final just because they finished second in the league. So I genuinely think that year, that trophy rewarded failure. Arsenal fans deserve better than this. I'm giving you a big fat F. Aston Villa UEFA Intertoto Cup F-. Is it possible to give a score worse than an F? Seriously, I know it's weird to rag on Aston Villa for winning a trophy. It's a bit like somebody laughing at someone's granddad because he sneezed cheese on his lap. It does seem really mean to give Villa an F- for winning something, but let's be real. That Intertoto Cup win in 2001 was about as important as the opinions of a Fredo. I don't think any Villa fan would have even appreciated that useless little cup, because guess what? 2 other clubs won it that year too. Seriously, back in the summer of 2001, the UEFA Intertoto Cup was basically just a qualification tournament for the UEFA Cup. And yeah, Villa beat NK Slaven Bilapo, Rennes, and Basel. So they technically won that trophy, but alongside PSG and Troyes, who also won it. Confusing. Next, Bournemouth Championship title B+. You know what? I'm gonna give Bournemouth a big fat B+ for this one, because yeah, whilst I think Andoni Iraola is absolutely good enough to win them something proper, well, no, the last trophy is still when they stormed the championship title under Eddie Howe 10 years ago, which I'm sorry, to see a miniature little seaside club, something which nearly went out of business a few years earlier, in a tiny stadium populated by grannies addicted to seagull flavored ice cream, to see them actually secure their first ever promotion to the Prem by winning the league with 90 points, wow. They scored 96 goals, beat Fulham 5-1, stuck 10 past Blackpool, and they actually won a game away to Birmingham by 8 goals. That looked like an insanely fun season for the Cherries. It was absolutely breathtaking anyhow ball as they pinched the title on the final day, finishing 1 point above Watford. Just brilliant. Brentford nothing. Brentford haven't won a single sausage in their entire history. That's a little embarrassing. Next, Brighton League 1 B+. Yeah, Brighton haven't won much either, but hey, I guess when Gus Poyet took them from 13th to 1st, inside 1 year in League 1, winning the title with 95 points, that would have been fun, and actually especially delicious, considering they beat their southern neighbour Southampton to the prize. Seriously, that Saint squad had no business being in League 1. Schneiderlin, Font, Lambert, Punchin, Lallana, Oxlade, Chamberlain. There's never been a more talented squad in the 3rd division ever before, and yet Brighton still took the title. So yeah, this is a big fat B+. But lads, don't forget, back in 2017, Brighton came within 2 minutes of pipping the great Rafa Benitez to the championship title. And then Jack Grealish scores and ruined it all for them. But yeah, no, for the League 1, B+. Burnley Championship title C+. Look, I know Burnley won the championship title with ease under Vince Kompany, sticking 101 points on the board. They won 10 in a row and actually confirmed promotion with 7 games to spare. And lads, they clinched the title by beating Blackburn Rovers, their hated rivals. So I'd imagine taking that title at Ewood Park against the former Premier League champions would be more satisfying than munching the head off a teddy bear. That is a brilliant way to win something in the home of your enemy. However, considering Burnley had just spent 5 seasons in the Premier League under Sean Dyche, and the fact they'd recently been in Europe, then I don't think their fans would have been that excited to win the championship. Seriously, I mean, yet that season under Kompany looked fun, but I don't think lifting the 2nd division trophy would have really got the Burnley juices flowing. It would have been nice, sure, but it's been like somebody who's been a millionaire for a while, like KSI, now trying to get pumped about getting a free cookie in Subway. way. Meh. So yeah, this title was fine, I guess. Chelsea Club World Cup D-. Look, Chelsea are really lucky their last trophy isn't the Conference League, because the club winning that thing was an embarrassment in itself. Even being in that tiny tournament was such a mismatch. Everyone knew the Chelsea B team was going to win it before a ball was even kicked. It was the most obvious winner of a tournament ever. Seriously, even seeing Chelsea participate in a European competition made for ugly babies, it was so beneath them. It's like a world-class violinist agreeing to queue with the loonies to audition for Britain's Got Talent, spending an hour next to someone who can blow up balloons with his bum. It was so beneath them, but no, their most recent trophy instead is the Club World Cup, which nobody seemed to watch. As it stands, this tournament is a reboot that nobody wanted. It's like if someone does a spin-off about Phoebe from Friends. I'd rather watch a cat licking itself for an hour. Nobody wanted this tournament, but hey, Chelsea defeated Los Angeles FC, Esperance de Tunis, Benfica, Palmeiras, Fluminense, and then, pretty impressively, they slapped PSG 3-0 in the final. A PSG team, though, who had already conquered Europe the previous month, and so their motivational levels were weak. It's like somebody getting married, and then they immediately get asked by their boss to cancel their honeymoon to spend a month stacking shelves in Asda. Their heart is not going to be in it, and so by the fourth week, oh yeah, they're going to be spitting in the Cheerios. That's what tripped up sleepy PSG, but still, it was an overall impressive win, and that game alone is what banked Cole Palmer into the top 10 of the Ballon d'Or. But nobody in Europe cares about this tournament, not yet. So I guess it's cool to slap a Club World Cup trophy on your shirt for 4 years, but overall, nah. Crystal Palace Community Shield B. Look, I'm gonna knock certain teams for winning the Community Shield, sure, but Crystal Palace had not won a sausage before Oliver Glasner came to town. Winning the FA Cup was an A+ moment, but still, for a club literally allergic to silverware, to such a degree that their fans probably have dinner with a plastic knife and fork. Oh no, the novelty still had not worn off when they were winning the Community Shield on penalties against an all-star Liverpool. I mean, for Palace to miss 2 penalties and still win the shootout, it felt more dramatic than a Breaking Bad finale. To win 2 trophies at Wembley inside 3 months, it must have felt utterly surreal. So yeah, I know it's a meaningless trophy, and this won't have felt as good as the FA Cup, no, but still, for Crystal Palace, I'd say it still felt big. Everton Charity Shield D+. Yeah, it's actually pretty crazy that Everton are going on 30 years without a trophy to their name. For a club of their size, that stinks worse than a frog's burp, but still, their last chunk of silver was in the mid-90s, the Charity Shield, which was a game between Everton and Blackburn. Doesn't that seem like a weird fixture for what is supposed to be the most glamorous curtain raiser in Europe? Yeah, Everton won the FA Cup, Blackburn won the league, and the Toffees won this game 1-0. And I mean, considering this wasn't so long after Everton had already conquered English football in the 80s, then most of their fans at the time probably had memories of bigger trophies. So for them, this was probably still a bit meh. Fulham Championship C-. Like Burnley, then yes, for Fulham, winning the championship title in 2022 must have been fairly fun, especially as this was Marco Silva pipping the old Fulham boss Scott Parker to the title. Because, I mean, don't get me wrong, okay, if Bournemouth had won that league and the sacked Fulham boss had gotten his grubby hands on this trophy, then the Craven Cottage hierarchy would have been quietly embarrassed. It's a bit like losing an arm wrestle against your ex-wife. But look, Silva pipped Parker, and yeah, it was a pretty fun season. They scored 106 goals at 3 7-0 wins. They had a couple of 6-2 wins within 3 days of each other. It was a spectacle on the pitch to watch, but again, I don't think a fan base who are minutes away from a Europa League final penalty shootout in 2010 were really getting teary about winning a division they didn't even want to be in. And I mean, don't get it twisted. Finishing off the campaign big, they slapped 4-0 by Sheffield United. Oh, that's definitely a gloomy end for the season DVD. Seriously, it's like if you sat through a great masterpiece film like The Dark Knight, and then the final shot, for some reason, is just footage of your mum pooing in her shoe. Oh, that's the lasting memory that you have? Kind of spoils it a bit. Leeds Championship title B. Well, this is a bit different. Yeah, I've been harsh about Burnley and Fulham's title wins. But for Leeds United, oh no, I'm guessing that championship title under Marcelo Bielsa in 2020 was pretty magical, because Leeds had not been in the top flight recently. No, in fact, they were championship bottle jobs, getting crushed by Lampard's Derby in the playoffs. Or how about when they even bottled finishing in the playoff spot under Gary Monk? Leeds were a total mess for years, and so yeah, for them to be able to get a genuine world-class coach in Marcelo Bielsa, it was something which looked too good to be true. I mean, this man might be a genius, but don't forget, before Leeds, he was quitting jobs for fun. I mean, he only lasted 2 days as Lazio manager, so the Bielsa thing felt like a weird dream that was never going to work. But oh no, to win the league by 10 points, to secure promotion back to the Premier League for the first time since 2004, I'd imagine it was pretty emotional scenes. However, the only reason this is not an A+ is because this happened in 2020. And so for the final third of the season, for the moment that promotion was clinched, it was in front of empty seats, with Leeds fans stuck at home having to watch it on their phone. Sure, I'm guessing they celebrated with extra sugar in their tea, but there is an ideal way to win a trophy, and in 2020, this was not it. Honestly, it's like getting married in a shoebox. Liverpool Premier League title A-. Look, Liverpool won the Premier League title in front of their fans. Yes. However, I'm going to nitpick to such a point. Or yeah, I'm going to look like one of those weirdos on the internet who complain on Reddit about how Tesco no longer produces arousing cabbages. But for a club who had to experience so much pain waiting for a first Premier League title, like the Stevie G slip, that I think those fans deserve better than to anticlimactically win it in front of nobody in 2020. The worst way to win a league. Because that team were so good under Klopp, everyone knew they were winning the league by November. So they had to wait 8 long months to officially lift the thing in mid-July. There was no last-minute Aguero moment. No last-minute drama. Oh no. It was a trophy drought finally ended when Chelsea beat Man City in July, where the stadium was so quiet you could hear the steward burp. That was a horrible way to win the league, with all the Liverpool players celebrating outside a coffee shop. And because they did technically win this in 2020, it meant that last season's title didn't feel as special, right? Because Liverpool had already won it 5 years earlier. And just like in 2020, the Reds ran away with it again. They were too good, so again, no Aguero moment. Instead, they polished off the season with just 2 points from 4 games. What's also mad is that you would assume that a fairly low points total of 84 would mean that there was an exciting title challenge that went until the final day. No. I mean, Rafa Benitez put more points on the board than Arne Slot. No, even still, just 84 points. There was no real credible title challenge from anyone. And so when it's too easy, it's just not as fun. But maybe I'm wrong, Liverpool fans. Let me know. Man City Premier League title B+. Yeah, Man City's last Premier League title was the 23-24 trophy, where yeah, they recovered from a sloppy start to typically blow everyone away after Christmas, crush Arsenal and break their hearts. I mean, it must have been satisfying to once again look at Arteta and see him look like he just found poo in his hot chocolate. However, it was City's 4th title in a row, and it was just a year after they conquered football with the treble. I'm not saying the fans weren't buzzing to win it, but I'm guessing this title didn't come close to the Aguero one in 2012, or the Company one in 2019, or the Gundogan one in 2022. This title didn't have an epic moment. I bet there wasn't a single Man City fan crying in the ground. Seriously, pick out one epic moment that happened in this season. What epic title-defining moment happened for Man City in 2024? There wasn't one. By Man City's incredible standards, this one was kind of bland, and I generally don't think anyone is ever gonna talk about that time City won the league in 2024. Now, as far as title wins go, this one was about as memorable as a box of bananas. Man United FA Cup B+. It's weird to think how Erik ten Hag actually won 2 cup finals as Man United boss. Especially, I mean, when he's since been fired in Germany after just 2 matches. It's weird to think that, yes, on paper, he was actually an Old Trafford success in terms of trophies. Look, when I was a kid, it didn't really seem like Man United fans cared about this cup. I mean, they fumbled the easiest chance to win the treble in 2008. Seriously, beat Portsmouth at Old Trafford, and then all you've got to do is beat West Brom and Cardiff after that, and guess what? Sir Alex would have just won his 2nd treble as Man United boss. Seriously, losing to Pompey in the FA Cup quarter-final fumbled history, and nobody ever talked about it. And don't forget, this club also pulled out of the FA Cup to play in the Club World Cup back in 2000. So yes, on paper, Man United winning the FA Cup is usually, so what? I mean, I remember when they beat Millwall in the final once. However, the way they did it here is special, because there was a last-minute comeback win over Liverpool in the quarter-finals. Yeah, there was an utterly terrible collapse against Coventry in the semis. But hey, you win on penalties after one VAR call away from becoming a global meme, so that was sheer relief. And then it was a surprise win over your noisy neighbours in the final, with 2 former Academy stars scoring against Man City. Lads, beating Manchester City in the final, something Man United had never done before. Yeah, I'll give you a B+. Newcastle League Cup A+. What? I know you're all laughing at me for giving a League Cup trophy win an A+. Sure, but no, you don't understand. Newcastle had not won a domestic trophy for 70 years, and just 2 years ago lost a League Cup final against Man United, which honestly felt like finding armpit hair in your tea. So to be facing off against an unstoppable Liverpool team, lads, I mean, the Reds of the previous year beating Chelsea in this final with a bunch of kids on the pitch. They actually seemed unbeatable. It's been 10 years since the Magpies had beaten Liverpool, so surely they weren't going to beat the Premier League champs in the final. And yet, 2-1, and Dan Burn scores the first goal. Local lad Dan Burn, released from the club at the age of 12. He fights his way back nearing 30, and so when that goal went in, it's one of the most epic moments in modern English football. It's fairy tale stuff, trust me. This was epic. Nottingham Forest European Cup A+. The last trophy Nottingham Forest won was the European Cup in 1980. Of course it's an A+. Sunderland EFL Trophy F. Okay, a playoff trophy doesn't count, okay? So yeah, Sunderland's last trophy was the EFL Trophy in 2021, when as a struggling League One club, sure, sure. They beat Tranmere Rovers in the final, at Wembley in front of no one, and they squeaked past Lincoln in the semis. But to show how unimportant this trophy is, lads, in the first round, Sunderland got an impressive 8-1 win against Aston Villa under 21s. Get out of here with this. Sunderland are a bigger club than this. Winning a trophy made for baby teams in an empty Wembley. It must be one of the worst ways to end a trophy drought. It's like me winning an egg and spoon race against 10-year-olds on their sports day. Get out of here, you creep. Tottenham Europa League A. You know what? This one was big. Out of every single trophy win I've just listed, I don't think any were as important for the immediate future of a club as Tottenham's Europa League win. Because can you imagine if they didn't get that get out of jail free card of Champions League qualification? They'd just be a team who just finished 4th bottom of the league. So you can kiss goodbye to any of their fancy new summer signings. Even Thomas Frank might have laughed away your job request. So to beat Man United to clinch the Europa League, this was major. Because without this one, Spurs would still be so deep in the mud they'd have worms in their nose. So yeah, to beat an English rival in a European final, to finally get rid of that "lads, it's Spurs" tag, and to give Son Heung-min his first trophy in his 10th year and final game for Spurs. Yeah, pretty perfect night. West Ham Conference League B-. Finally, the first trophy in the list that was won with a last-minute winner. The best way to win. Let's see West Ham end their trophy drought. It looked brilliant for the fans, sure. But I sort of wish they'd done this in the Europa League. Instead, this Hammers team was absolutely good enough to win the Europa League. And they nearly did it the previous year. But look, okay, this was a last-minute winning goal in a European final. Brilliant. And they did beat a decent Fiorentina team in the final. I mean, the Italians were a Europa League quality too. They weren't Mickey Mouse standards. That final in Prague is legitimate. That was a tough match, and that whole night must have been sensational. And I can't imagine what it must have felt like when Bowen scored. However, this competition is for European babies. West Ham are too good for this tournament. Come on, Declan Rice in the Conference League. Whenever you see a £100 million footballer wander around in this tournament, you must immediately phone their mum because they're clearly lost. West Ham has celebrated that win. They loved that win. But I just wish for West Ham's sake this was in the Europa League instead. Because in the back of their minds, when celebrating this, they must have still thought, yeah, it's nice, but wow, this trophy is still the ugly sister of the Europa League. Wolves Championship title B. Yeah, Wolves haven't won nothing since the 2018 Championship title, which is kind of mad considering the squad of talent that they had. However, to go from 15th to 1st overnight to gobble up 99 Championship points after the fancy new boardroom connections were able to attract players and coaches they had no right to get, then yeah, I'm guessing Wolves fans have never been more excited about the future than they were in 2018. To have Ruben Neves in the Championship was wild. Anyway, that is the end of it. Let me know. Let me know. I've tried to grade your trophies fairly, but let me know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you like them more than I thought. Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe. I'll talk to you in a while.